Hey, welcome. So we all think we know the story of Genesis, right? In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. It's probably one of the most famous lines ever written. But what if that common understanding completely misses the real point? What if there's a kind of code hidden in plain sight that's not about creating the cosmos, but about creating, well, you?
And that brings us to this central question from the source material we're looking at. It frames this whole ancient text not as some puzzle we have to solve, but as a secret that needs to be revealed. It's really an invitation to a whole new kind of discovery.
So here it is, the big idea that kind of flips the entire script. What if the creation story isn't about the physical universe at all? What if it's actually an allegorical map for an inner journey, a personal guidebook for your own creation?
Okay, let's dive in. Here's the roadmap for what we're going to unpack. We'll start with the secret that's hiding in the very first verse. Then, we'll redefine some of the most basic words in the story. We're going to reimagine what heaven and earth even are, uncover a new map of time, understand what the creation of man really means, and then finally, see how this all becomes your personal creation story.
All right, first up, let's talk about that secret, hidden right there at the very beginning. So the key, according to this interpretation, lies in the original Hebrew, where word order and subtle meanings can change everything. The argument is that Genesis 1:1 isn't describing a one-time cosmic Big Bang. Instead, it's about a blueprint being placed inside a ministry. Think of that less as a physical place and more like a conceptual space, a realm of divine intention. And to really understand this blueprint, we have to redefine a couple of key words. Getting these new definitions is absolutely crucial to unlocking this whole perspective.
So let's take the word bara, which we always translate as create. We tend to think that means making something out of nothing, right? Poof. But the source argues that bara actually means to shape something that already exists. It's more about organizing knowledge that's already there, kind of like how an artist sculpts clay that they didn't create from thin air.
And then there's the big one, Elohim, which we translate as God. Now here's the interesting part. In Hebrew, this is a plural noun. So instead of being the name for a single being, it's presented here as a concept, a ministry yearning for the Almighty. This shifts the creator from a single person to a whole spiritual process.
Okay, so with these new definitions in our back pocket, you can probably guess that the stage for all this, heaven and earth, is about to get a radical makeover too.
You know, in Hebrew, Hashemayim, or the heavens, is actually a dual noun. So this interpretation doesn't see it as the physical sky over our heads. It sees it as a mental realm where two authorities are dueling it out, truth versus falsehood. It's like a conceptual factory where truth is hammered out and refined. And if heaven is this inner realm of thought, well then what's haaretz, the earth? It's not our planet. It's the self. It's your own inner world. And the text says it starts out without form and void, right? In total chaos and darkness. That's not a description of some primordial planet. It's the starting point for our own inner journey.
So, if creation isn't about physical space, then what about time? You know, the famous 7 days? Yeah, they get a completely new meaning too.
The really crucial point here is that the days are not 24-hour periods, not even close. They're sequential stages of inner growth. Step 1, you learn to tell light from dark, truth from ignorance. Step 2, you separate the waters, learning to manage and distinguish your own thoughts. Then you find dry land, building a stable inner foundation for yourself. Fourth, you establish your guiding lights, your purpose. Fifth, you birth new life, a spiritual awakening. And all of this builds to that sixth stage, creating man in God's image. That's the goal.
And that brings us right to the climax of this whole spiritual process, the true creation of man.
So on that sixth day, Adam is created. But, and this is a really big but, according to this interpretation, this is not the first physical human being. This Adam is the perfected spiritual self. It's the blueprint of what a person can become after they complete those first 5 stages. It's the destination, not the starting point. This way of reading the text even reframes gender. The specific Hebrew words used here, zakar and nekeva, are seen as functions, not as biological genders. Zakar is connected to the act of remembering truth, and nekeva is about recording it, making an impression. So in this view, male and female aren't bodies. They're the inner functions of remembering a truth and then engraving it onto your own consciousness.
So, let's bring it all home. What does this all mean for you right now? Let's talk about your personal creation story.
You see,
When you look at it through this lens, Genesis 1 stops being a story about ancient history. It's not just something that happened once billions of years ago that we're all supposed to just believe in.
Instead, it becomes a living blueprint, a timeless, repeatable guide for your own inner development, for your own spiritual transformation. And you can start that journey at any moment. The story isn't over. It's happening right now, inside you.
So the text is no longer just some historical record to be read, it's a map to be followed. And that leaves us with a really personal question. If creation is a personal journey, what day are you on?